Elements. Rain, wind, sleet, snow. Elements. We all face them. There are many elements that make up our lives. We all have so many stories about friends and family alike, showing how they have impacted our own elements and storms. We have faced death in our family, loved ones move, friendships fade. My free will is fire, passionate, free, and conquering. It expands without a care about anything around it and only stopped by earth or water. Earth nurtures, wise, mature, dependable, helping me to develop and grow. My nature undulates like water, tranquil, calm, and serene, allowing me to develop my own strong felt opinions. From Chincoteague to the Rockies, I've seen gorgeous weather on the beach and even a flash flood in Colorado. From innocent child to crazy teenager, I've lost a couple close family members and I've lost many friends to new places. My stories exemplify my reactions and the reactions of those around me when facing the rigorous elements. Act 1. Earth. When growing up, your parents are usually your stronghold in everything you know. They teach you right from wrong and nurture you in the process. They're like your world. Like Earth, they've always been there, always dependable. Everyone at some time in their life has to face the elements, either literally or metaphorically. My family loves camping. We own tents, gas stoves, and even a portable shower. We're prepared for anything. My family's been to the Rocky Mountains twice in a time. The first time was the summer after my 4th grade year, but that was not where my experience with the elements was the worst. The second time, however, things were quite different. We got chased out of our campsite by an oncoming flash flood and had to pick up all of our equipment in less than an hour. But that's a whole different story. The real story begins on a dirt road. This was no ordinary dirt road. This road contained rocks that were embedded in the road that were so large it frightened me. Somehow I managed to fall asleep. Maybe it was my way of avoiding a heart attack, or maybe it was the strange music my dad always played when we get in the car. But nevertheless, I was sound asleep. I was woken abruptly when the car door I was laying against was whipped open and exposed me not only the chilly air, but the hail, the rain, the uneven surface beneath the car. My body was in shock. I awoke to find that my dad was furious at my brother because apparently he had dropped his gum somewhere in the car. We were the lucky ones chosen to search the back seat of the car for my inattentive brother's gum. We searched and searched only to find that it was on his t-shirt. I promptly slammed my car door and attempted to go back to sleep. However, the rain, the hail, and the sleet now had picked up. Now I was perfectly conscious, and the road was even rougher than it was to begin with, and somehow the elements made it seem all the more violent. That could have been one of the roughest roads I have ever been on, and never before have I experienced the elements to that extent. No matter if I'm literally experiencing the elements of Mother Nature throws at me, or if I'm just going through a storm, my earth, my family, has always been there. I had one storm that was, to me, the worst I've had to face in a long time. Last year, one of my best friends, one of our seismic sixum members, moved to Florida, and that tore me up. I was upset for weeks. She wrote us a goodbye letter and gave it all to us the morning she left. To this day, I cannot read it without crying, but this experience changed me and taught me to rely on my earth and when all the situations get hard. My life consists of basically family, friends, like most everyone. I have one group of girls that mean the world to me, and we call ourselves the Seismic Sixum. These 5 girls have been in my life since 7th grade, and one, Amanda, has been there since elementary school. They call me the group clown. I love to see people laugh and love to cheer people up. I get this from my dad, who loves to joke. Sometimes I regret even people like my sixum will let you down, but my earth, no matter the storm or the extremity of elements, has always been there for me and always will. Act 2. It all started one Christmas morning when Santa brought my sister and I dirt bikes. Now this was a few years back, and to this day my family cries laughing every time the story is told. Before I go on with the story, I have to say that it shows the difference between a motherly reaction and my reaction. It's my personality to be very calm and mellow. I'm like water, easily adaptable, but able to make waves if necessary. So back to the story. It's Christmas and all my mom's side of the family is at my house. Even only being one half of my family, it was still a lot of people. My cousins and I were outside with my mom, my dad, my Aunt Joy, and her husband Matt. My sister and I got first dibs on the bike, and with the exception of Jessie and Jacob, two of my cousins, all of the others were too young. Jessie had her turn following Charlotte and I, and Jacob was next. This is where the real story begins. Like me, Jacob is extremely mellow. He's very shy and easily stirred, so naturally he was really nervous about riding the dirt bike. He's like water also. Water is a natural substance. It seems to wash over anything in its path. My nurture's like the earth, wise, and has always been there. Water forms the earth, but over time it erodes the area in the way. My family forms around my earth, for the most part, but when I feel necessary, my water erodes and washes over the earth to fit my circumstance the way I feel necessary. Jacob was nervous. Dirt bikes go fast, but they're easily operated. Jacob gets on and gets ready, starts the bike and rides. Now, let me tell you the landscape where he's riding. It's pretty much an open area. However, after a while, it's not clear anymore. He was riding along the fence, and he was headed for a tree, slightly on his right. Far to the left are the woods. He started to panic, and he speeds up. I could see the fear in his eyes. He started to go faster and faster, and his mom, Joy, is standing by the fence, and all my relatives are sitting in the kitchen, and at this point I've left the breakfast on the table to watch the action unfolding outside. The tree was slightly to his right, and Jacob was now much closer. Still not in immediate danger, but in my water-like opinion, however, Joy didn't see my mellow way. She takes off. She ran until she was at full speed. Then she launched. She was flying quite literally through the air, perfectly horizontal. This was one of these moments where you wish you had a camera. She landed right on Jacob, knocking him off the bike, taking the bike to the ground with him. I looked at the kitchen window to see the reaction of the rest of my relatives, and I found that they were coming outside rather quickly and laughing hysterically. At this point, I was on the ground laughing. Joy and Jacob were recovering from the collision, and my sister was checking her new Christmas present for any damages. Sometimes I feel, due to my easygoing, water-like personality, that my reactions are inappropriate. I prefer that my life as simplistic as possible with the least amount of stress. I like to go with the flow and not cause many problems. My reaction to my cousin's dirt biking incident may have been underreaction. However, I didn't see the need to worry. It looked like to me he was slowing down. Joy didn't see my way, obviously. Her personality is not quite as tranquil and water-like as mine. Act 3. Fire. Everyone says that you can be anything you want to be. If you wanted to be a firefighter, but later realize you don't work well in stressful conditions, you might want to reconsider your future in this profession. However, even with the fear, you could become a firefighter if you could get your mind into the right mindset. My free will is based on the extent of boundaries in my imagination. I could also conclude that the motivation plays a big role in free will also. If my mind is not motivated, then the extent of my imagination would be much smaller than someone who has a fire, you could call it, as motivation. One's fire could be money, a family, or peer pressure. The greater the fire, the more free will I have, along with the greater the boundaries of the imagination. Man has free will within his own circumstance. If a person drops high out of high school, and then they have free will based upon their thinking in their mind and how creative they can be in finding a successful career with such little education. I can conclude that free will is an ironic concept. Free will is not free will at all unless you can let your mind wander far enough to reach anything. Ayn Rand once said, a man is a being with free will. Therefore, each man is potentially good or evil, and it's up to him and only him, through his reasoning mind, to decide what he wants to be. Free will of humans can be viewed in so many ways. An individual's free will is limited to the extent of their imagination and mind. In Ayn Rand's quote, it states that it's up to the individual to choose between good and evil through the reasoning of their mind. Imagination is expanded through my experiences. The more I've seen, the more I can imagine. If I've been to Alaska and can see me living there in the future, then it's in the extents of my imagination. Therefore, I have free will to live there, and my fire could be the fact that it's absolutely gorgeous there. Now, if I didn't know there was a country called Zari, then it's not within the boundaries of my imagination, and therefore I don't have the free will to live there unless I were to discover the presence of this country in the world. I had a dream to work with aircraft or spacecraft. For me, recently, with the knowledge I have and the lack of understanding in some areas, this dream looks less and less feasible. However, anyone has the free will to pursue anything their mind can conceive. I recently got accepted into a NASA program called VAST. I have thoroughly enjoyed being part of this. This summer I will have an opportunity of a lifetime to go and stay at Christopher Newport University for a week, and with my team, plan a mission to either Mars or the Moon. Free will is not free will unless you can let your mind wander far enough to reach anything. It's quite an ironic concept.